Discover the sinister secrets of the cursed Apostle Paul, haunting revelations exposed. Jenna stood in the dim light of her new living room, her heart hammering like a wild drum in her chest. The house creaked around her, a cacophony of whispers that sent chills racing down her spine. Shadows danced in the corners, morphing into shapes that seemed to mock her every move. Moving back into her grandmother's old home in Willow Creek promised a fresh start for her and her 2 children, but now, the walls seemed to close in, pulling her deeper into a story that had festered long before she arrived. The first night, as Lucy slept soundly beside her, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak in the floorboards echoed like a sinister warning, slicing through the silence. And then there were those letters she found in the attic, yellowed and brittle, speaking of that terrifying figure, the cursed Apostle Paul. A man whose very name dripped with darkness, rumored to haunt the streets, bringing misfortune to anyone daring enough to seek the truth. Jenna had laughed off the stories at first, dismissing them as mere folklore, spun to scare children. But as the hours crawled by, she felt the pulse of the house vibrating with something eerily alive. With each night, the comfort of nostalgia morphed into something oppressive and suffocating. Jenna couldn't explain it, but a chill seeped into her bones, whispering to her that this house, her grandmother's beloved refuge, wasn't entirely what it seemed. She noticed the shifting expressions of her neighbors, eyes peering out from curtains, their faces tight with the kind of concern that felt more predatory than neighborly. They seemed to sense her fragility, hovering like vultures waiting for a moment of weakness. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The clock ticked, every second dragging into eternity. When Jenna's nightmare shifted into full-blown horror, Tyler hadn't come home. Panic consumed her as she grimly scanned the house for any signs of him. Heart racing, she rapped on doors of her neighbors, desperation spilling out of her like a torrent, but their reaction was chillingly apathetic. Blank stares, murmured excuses, and then nothing. The local authorities shrugged it off, suggesting he was just off with friends. But she knew her son. Tyler wouldn't leave without a word. As hours slipped painfully away, the shadows in the house shifted, pulsing with anticipation. Jenna clutched the letters tighter as those sinister tales of the apostle crept back into her mind. Could there be truth buried in the folklore? Were her neighbors connected in some twisted pact, deliberately shrouding her son's fate? Every creak felt like an omen. The suffocating atmosphere resonated with her growing obsession to uncover every hidden secret. Then she saw a flicker of movement outside the window. Heart in her throat, she leaned in, breath hitching. There, on the ground, was Tyler's jacket lying abandoned, just waiting to be claimed. Jenna stumbled back, terror wrapping around her like a vice. Whatever darkness lurked in this house was far more real than she had ever dared to believe. And as the shadows deepened, her resolve hardened. The looming truth promised to unveil something so terrifying, she might lose not only her son but herself in the process. What price would she pay to uncover the sinister secrets of Willow Creek? Jenna stumbled back from the window, her breath caught somewhere between a gasp and a scream. The sight of Tyler's jacket urged her to act, but fear anchored her feet to the floor. A flicker of movement outside, was it an illusion? She forced herself to focus, peering into the inky darkness, desperate for any sign of her son. "Tyler!" she shouted, her voice cracking as she rushed to the door. She flung it open, the chill of the night air wrapping around her like a shroud. The street lay empty, bathed in a sickly glow from the street lamp at the corner, flickering like the dying pulse of hope. "Tyler!" Again, her voice echoed into the void. No answer. Scrambling down the porch steps, she grabbed the jacket, the fabric cool against her warm skin. Questions swirled viciously in her mind. Where was he? Was he in trouble? The very house that was supposed to be home now felt like a cage, its walls closing tighter as dread pooled in her stomach. The neighbor's curtains twitched not with concern, but with something darker. She glanced toward the nearest house, where Mrs. Grayson stood, her silhouette barely visible. A smirk twisted the woman's face just as their eyes met, the malice chilling Jenna to the core. "Have you checked the old church?" Mrs. Grayson suggested, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Children sometimes wander. You know how they get, curious." A knot tightened in Jenna's throat. The church. It loomed at the edge of the woods behind her grandmother's house, a crumbling relic of the town's past, long abandoned yet somehow still present in every whispered legend. The tales of the cursed Apostle Paul began to swirl in her mind, all those stories of lost souls and cursed transformations. Ignoring the glares from her neighbors, Jenna sprinted toward the church, determination driving her forward despite the terror clawing at her insides. Each step thudded against the ground, shaking her resolve. The moonlight cast eerie shadows through the gnarled trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands, wanting to pull her back into the darkness. As she reached the church, a heavy door creaked open, revealing a yawning darkness that smelled of mold and decay. Jenna hesitated on the threshold, dread pooling in her stomach. But if Tyler was in there, Tyler? She called out, stepping inside. The whispers returned, rising like a wave, crashing into her ears. They spoke in hushed tones, fluttering just beyond comprehension, taunting her. The interior was a stark contrast to the outside. Moonlight cascaded through shattered stained glass, painting the dust-covered floor in a kaleidoscope of colors. The shadows shifted like living entities, swirling around her as if they could sense her fear. Each sound a scuttle of a rat, a mournful creak made Jenna jump, clenching the jacket tight to her chest. Then, in the corner, she saw him. Tyler stood motionless, his back toward her. The misplaced sense of relief threatened to drown her. "Tyler." "Oh, thank God." She breathed, but as she took a step closer, he didn't turn. "Tyler," she called again, louder this time, but something wasn't right. The air crackled with a strange energy, thickening, making it hard to breathe. As Jenna reached out to touch him, a chill swept through the room. Tyler whipped around, his face pale, eyes wide with a confusion that quickly turned to horror. "Mom, you shouldn't have come here." Before she could respond, the shadows behind him writhed, reshaping into grotesque forms, flickering to life as if the tales of Apostle Paul were not mere legend but a ravenous, grinning truth. Something truly dreadful was awakening within these walls, and Jenna was about to step into the eye of the storm. What awaited her in the depths of that church? Would she learn the price of truth, or would it cost her everything? The air crackled with tension, each moment stretching like a taut wire ready to snap. Jenna's heart drummed in her ears as she took a cautious step back, eyes widening with terror. Tyler's gaze was hollow, as if he had seen something unspeakable, something that had pulled him into the depths of a nightmare. "Tyler, please, what are you talking about?" she stammered, desperation creeping into her voice. The figures in the shadows swayed gently, whispering in a language that twisted like smoke in the air. She couldn't discern the words, but the tone dripped with malice. "They won't let you leave," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't understand." His eyes darted to the creeping darkness behind him, fear transforming his youthful features into a mask of dread. Without thought, Jenna stepped forward, her instinct to protect him overriding her growing panic. "We'll leave together. Now." A sense of urgency propelled her forward, but Tyler remained frozen, anchored by fear as the malevolent shapes danced closer. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her feet, and she stumbled. A low growl rolled through the church, sending a shiver down her spine. "The apostle is awake," Tyler murmured, eyes wide with terror. "Tyler, look at me." She reached for him, fingers brushing against the cool fabric of his shirt. The moment she touched him, the shadows recoiled, as if repelled by her warmth. Something primal flickered in Tyler's eyes, a flash of recognition that made her blood run cold. "You have to come away from this place." "No. I can't." He shouted, his voice soaring in desperation. You must leave. You don't belong here. But she couldn't leave, not without him. The shadows coalesced behind Tyler, warping into hideous forms with twisted features that seemed to mock her very existence. She turned to the door, but it slammed shut with a bone-rattling crash, sealing her in with the whispers and shadows that closed in tighter. Help me! Jenna cried, but her voice was swallowed by the dark, replaced by sinister laughter echoing around her. Tyler's face contorted with anguish, and Jenna noticed a flicker of something hunger. Mom, I can't, they're here for you. You have to go. The laughter faded, replaced with a cacophony of shrill screams that echoed through the church, frantic and forlorn. Jenna lunged forward, fear coursing through her veins, desperate to reach her son. But as she stepped closer, the darkness erupted with shadows, wrapping around her, the cold graspingly thick, as if they were alive. Jenna, a voice hissed from the darkness, a blend of tones she recognized, twisted and distorted. Join us, become one, what are you? She shouted, her voice trembling, fighting against the suffocating gloom. The figures twisted and turned, growing more expressive, and then she saw at the face of the apostle, grinning wickedly, eyes glinting like daggers. Feed us. We are legion. The shadows surged forward, a storm of dark energy, and Jenna flinched, her heart pounding like thunder. She couldn't let them take Tyler. Grabbing the jacket, she pulled him to her, ready to fight against the oncoming tide. Please, Tyler. Fight it. But he seemed caught in a trance, drawn further into the darkness. Fight it. You're stronger than this. In an instant, the air thickened again, and the shadows lurched toward them, desperate and ravenous. Jenna, a mother's instinct ignited inside her, launched herself at Tyler, her fingers gripping his shoulders tightly. Remember who you are. She shouted, feeling the pressure of the shadows close in, each whisper a promise of despair, but in that moment of sheer terror, reality twisted. Tyler's face flickered between his own and something dark, something ancient. He screamed, and Jenna felt the pull of the darkness threaten to tear them apart. As the shadows enveloped them both, reality began to blur, Jenna's screams mingling with Tyler's in a haunting symphony of fear. And just as the darkness claimed its prize, a bright light pierced through the shadows, illuminating the church with blinding intensity. Jenna! A familiar voice rang out, but who was it? She felt herself being torn away, the warmth of her son slipping from her grasp as she was pulled towards the glow. What would happen next? Would she ever see Tyler again? In that instant, she realized the darkness held more than just her son. It guarded secrets, ancient and terrifying, waiting for her to uncover and possibly to sacrifice everything, what lay beyond the light. Who called out her name, and could they really be trusted? Jenna felt the warmth of the light enveloping her, but it was deceptively comforting, like the false dawn before a storm. As she was pulled closer, her heart raced with panic. Would the light save her or lead her deeper into despair? Jenna! Please, come here. The voice echoed again, more insistent now. It sounded like a friend, but she could barely recognize it above the chaos swirling in her mind. She fought against the pull, her instincts screaming to stay with the shadows, where Tyler was, where the danger lay, but so did the one she loved most. Against the terrifying backdrop of darkness, shapes shifted. The apostle's grin widened, teeth bared in a grotesque display. He reached out a shadowy hand, the essence of darkness swirling around it. Join me, Jenna. Your son will be mine. No. Jenna screamed, fists clenched, desperation fueling a surge of strength. She pushed against the ground, propelled by the overpowering need to protect Tyler from that malevolent force. But the light tugged at her, fierce and bright, as unnatural as the darkness surrounding her. Somewhere deep down, she felt the glimmer of hope mixed with dread. Should she trust this entity calling her? A shadow flickered behind Tyler as if sensing her turmoil. Mom! Don't listen to them. She screamed again, but it sounded foreign, lost amidst the cacophony. The church shook, stones rattling like thunder, a low hum vibrating through her bones. Jenna turned back towards the shadowy figures, her resolve waning. "I will fight for you, Tyler." As if acknowledging her declaration, the apostle transformed, his face shifting through countless tormented expressions, each more horrifying than the last. "You think you can save him?" he cackled. "You are only feeding my power." Jenna felt her legs weaken, the ground beneath her shimmering, as if reality itself was peeling away. Pieces of her sanity splintered, and in that moment, she dropped to her knees. "Tyler, please," her voice cracked, tears of despair streaming down her cheeks. "I want to let you go." And then something remarkable happened. The moment she surrendered not to the darkness, but to the love for her son, a golden thread of light surged through her, piercing the shadows. It wrapped around Tyler, illuminating him, revealing the boy she knew, the boy she had nurtured, loved, fought for. "Mom!" Tyler gasped, reaching out, a flicker of clarity igniting in his eyes. "I can fight." The shadows screeched in rage, as the light burned them back, pushing them away. Jenna rose to her feet, bolstered by that newfound power, pulling Tyler toward her, the distance between them collapsing like the oppressive darkness itself, but the apostle wasn't finished. His eyes burned with a hunger that twisted Jenna's stomach. "You think this is just about him?" he roared. "You will have to choose, Mother, save him, or save yourself." In that moment, an unspeakable fear washed over her. The weight of his words settled in her mind. What if she had to make that choice? The darkness swirled violently, even as the light fought hard against it. They were locked in a battle not just for their souls, but for their very essence. "Mom!" Tyler's voice pierced her thoughts, the pleading, pained desperation weighing heavy in the air. "Look at me." The world around her began to fray again, the harsh reality of their situation pressing down hard on her, too much to endure, too great to bear. What kind of choice awaited her? With the warm glow flickering brighter, Jenna took a step toward her son, determination drowning out her fear. She could almost feel the weight of his love anchoring her in place. But as she moved, shadows deepened, the chilling words of the apostle echoing in her ears. "What will you sacrifice to save what you love?" Her grip tightened on Tyler's hand as she prepared to face whatever came next. But just then, a long howl rang out, freezing her in place, the shadows recoiling as if terrified. Jenna's heart pounded in her chest. Was it her decision made, or had the tides of fate turned once more? The darkness roared, and the apostle lunged, flames of rage igniting in the depths of his gaze. "They wouldn't be safe." "Not yet." As the shadows began to swirl again, Jenna whispered to her son, "Whatever happens, I'm with you." Would it be enough to hold back the onslaught of evil? Or would they both be consumed in a twisted fight for their very beings? The howl echoed, slicing through the chaos like a knife. Darkness recoiled, swirling around them like a wounded predator. For a heartbeat, Jenna dared to hope. The apostle, momentarily distracted, glared into the blackness, his twisted grin faltering. "Your savior comes, isn't that quaint?" he hissed, the malice creeping back into his voice. But even his arrogance couldn't hide the trembling edge of fear. Jenna's heart raced, fueled by Tyler's presence beside her. "Stay close," she whispered, eyes darting to the cold sepulchres rising around them. The church felt alive, walls trembled, stones shifted, like entities urging them closer to the brink. What was hiding in the shadows, waiting to strike? The long howl rang again. But it wasn't merely a sound. It was a call. A signal of something powerful, something that could turn the tide. It came from the very depths of the void, a promise of revenge and release from torment. "Do you hear it?" Jenna exclaimed, her voice shaky but ignited with urgency. It's here to help us." Tyler nodded, confusion mixing with determination on his face. "Mom, we don't know what it is. It could save us," she interjected. The apostle's eyes widened, pupils narrowing, frustration bubbling forth. There was a flicker of anxiety in his posture. "Fools! He spat, arms raised, shadows swirling violently around him. You think the howl is your salvation? It is your doom. Let the darkness consume your foolish hearts. His hands twitched as if beckoning the night itself, forms coalescing into grotesque shapes behind him. Jenna braced herself. We can't let him win, Tyler. Fight with me. Together. Tyler echoed, squeezing her hand tighter. The light twisting around them flared with newfound intensity, lighting a path through the gloom that threatened to swallow them whole. Ushered by their unity, the golden thread brightened, illuminating the grotesque figures that the apostle summoned to attack. Go! She screamed, propelling Tyler forward. We have to escape this place. We can fight him once we're free. But even as they turned to run, the shadows surged, limbs reaching out with claw-like fingers, aiming for their ankles, clutching, dragging. Jenna stumbled, nearly losing her footing. Mom! Tyler shouted, pulling her back. They were nearly swallowed by the inky blackness, but the howl intensified, ripping through the air like a battle cry. It called to Jenna with raw urgency, as if it too wanted to escape the apostle's clutches. In that moment, a figure emerged from the shadows, shrouded in mist. Its features were obscured, a mere whisper against the chaotic backdrop, but there was an aura of ancient power surrounding it. Jenna's stomach churned. Who was this being? Friend or foe? The mist wrapped around Tyler, lifting him momentarily, granting him grace as he leapt over the grasping shadows. Mom! Trust it. He urged, his spirit ignited with strength. Jenna felt her heart race, fear and desperation clawing at her mind. Could she relinquish control to an entity cloaked in darkness? Or was this another deception? Yet, within that swirling light, she spotted familiar eyes shining through an echo of hope. Take my hand. The figure beckoned, voice soothing yet powerful. The apostle's laughter rang in her ears, cold and cruel. Do you truly think you can escape? You are bound by choices that sow seeds of sacrifice. Do you know what you risk? I don't care. Jenna shouted, tension coiling tighter in her chest. We'll fight together. With a burst of resolve, Jenna lunged for the emerging figure, ready to embrace a possibility she couldn't fully understand, dragging her son along. As she grasped the specter's hand, a pulse of energy surged through her, and the world shattered like glass. A deafening roar erupted, mixing with the howl, sending shockwaves through Jenna's body. She felt the ground beneath them peel away, the shadows crackling and thrashing as the apostle's screams faded into the distance. But as reality warped around them, Jenna's mind raced. What lay ahead? Would they find safety, or would this choice lead them deeper into an abyss where they could be trapped forever? The howling subsided into a distant echo, and the light dimmed, uncertainty creeping in. Mom, what is happening? Tyler stammered, fear reflecting in his eyes. We're going somewhere, Jenna whispered, dread and courage battling within her. But the pressing question lingered too. Could they truly escape the apostle's curse, or had they stepped into a new nightmare? They tumbled through the darkness, weightless, suspended in a chaos that felt both terrifying and oddly liberating. Jenna grasped Tyler's hand tightly, a lifeline in that swirling void. Shadows flickered and danced around them, shape-shifting figures teetering on the edge of visibility, each one a reminder of the apostle's dark promise. Hang on! She shouted, adrenaline racing through her veins. Suddenly, the chaos jolted to a stop. They landed hard on a gritty floor, gasping for breath, hearts pounding in their chests. Jenna looked around, eyes adjusting to the dim light that illuminated their new surroundings. It wasn't a sanctuary, it felt more like a tomb. The walls were lined with ancient stone, and cobwebs hung like ghostly curtains. Where are we? Tyler asked, his voice barely above a whisper. It doesn't matter, Jenna replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. We have to keep moving. A chill swept through the air, wrapping around her like a vice. Jenna could sense something watching them, lurking just out of sight. She pulled Tyler closer, scanning their surroundings for any sign of danger. "Mom," he murmured, misgivings etched on his young face. "What if he finds us here?" Before she could respond, the howl echoed again, distant but unmistakable, reverberating through the damp air. Their hearts seemed to sync with that sound, thudding in a rhythm of dread and anticipation. "Stay quiet," Jenna urged, holding her breath. Tyler nodded, his eyes wide. They crept forward, the floor creaking under their feet. Every sound seemed amplified, crunching stones and whispered breaths becoming sharper, more defined in the empty silence. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled from the shadows, piercing through the stillness. Something moved behind them, a rustle, a shuffle, the sound of claws scraping against stone. "Go!" Jenna hissed, adrenaline coursing through her. They sprinted down the narrow corridor, the air thickening as they ran. She could feel the darkness closing in, a malevolent presence nipping at their heels. "Mom! Wait!" Tyler yelled, his voice echoing in the confined space. "We can't just run." But Jenna didn't stop. She couldn't. If they paused, that dark force would overtake them. As they turned a corner, they stumbled into a larger chamber, its walls covered in grotesque carving spiral patterns that seemed to twist into nightmares. In the center, a jagged stone altar stood, stained with scarlet markings that told a gruesome tale of sacrifice. The sight made Jenna's stomach turn, awakening a primal fear within her. "We have to hide," she whispered, pulling Tyler behind a weathered column. The shadows flickered, a wisp of darkness coiling towards them, hungry and eager. Tension hung heavy in the air. Jenna's breath quickened. A figure emerged, tall and shrouded in shadows, its movements graceful yet predatory. The apostle was tracking them, a hunter in his own twisted game. come out, wherever you are." His voice slithered through the air, dripping with mockery. "You cannot run from what you have chosen." Tyler clutched her arm, panic rising like bile in Jenna's throat. The primordial urge to flee clawed at her mind, but she knew they couldn't just run without a plan. The darkness hungered, and their time was running thin. In that moment of desperate clarity, Jenna's eyes caught something shining beneath the altar, a glimmer of silver. Her heart raced. Was it a weapon? A way to fight back? "Over there." She pointed, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within her. "We can use it." But before they could move, the apostle's voice grew sharper, resonating through the chamber like a razor, slicing through their resolve. "Ah, I see you found a treasure. Are you willing to pay the price?" Jenna felt the weight of his words, a twisted echo of the choices they had made. Would they risk everything for a chance to fight? "Mom!" Tyler begged, fear consuming him. "What are we going to do?" And just as Jenna opened her mouth to answer, the shadows lunged forward, an avalanche of darkness crashing upon them. What if this is the end? She thought. Despair flooding her senses. The howl rose again, wailing a warning. In that cacophony, Jenna realized this was only the beginning. They had escaped the apostle once, but now they faced a choice that could seal their fate forever. "Take my hand," Tyler cried, as the darkness clung tightly around their legs. "Hold on." Jenna screamed, racing towards the altar, praying for a chance, a miracle of light in the suffocating terror of the night. But was it hope that awaited them, or a final descent into madness? The shadows enveloped them, a suffocating embrace. Jenna felt the cold tendrils clutching her legs, dragging her back, but she refused to surrender. She yanked Tyler forward, desperate to reach the glimmer beneath the altar, their only beacon in this nightmarish pool of darkness. Almost there. She gasped, her voice a whip of urgency against the howling winds of despair. The glint beckoned, a promise of power wrapped in desperation. It was the last refuge from the apostle's game, and she could almost feel its pulse matching her frantic heartbeat. With every step, the weight of an unseen presence pressed against her back, a looming predator hungry for its prey. "Mom!" Tyler screamed, eyes wide with panic. "It's too late. Just a little closer." Jenna urged, gritting her teeth against the clamoring fear that gnawed at her resolve. The altar loomed larger, each step heavy with dread. Jenna could hear the Apostle's laughter mingling with the feral growl of shadows, like an orchestra of madness. Every bite of darkness felt like a betrayal, a test of their will. Then she saw it. The silver object glinted brighter amidst the red-stained stone. It wasn't just a shard, it was a dagger, ornate, etched with twisting symbols that pulsed with a faint light, as if it throbbed with a heartbeat of its own. "Grab it!" she bellowed, pulling Tyler forward, her hand stretching toward the weapon. But as he reached for it, the shadows hissed, a chorus of furious whispers swirling around them, cutting into Jenna's resolve like knives. "You will pay the price," they whispered, voices dripping with malice. "The price for choices made, for the paths you tread." "Stop!" Jenna shouted, shaking off the doubts that began to seep into her mind. She couldn't let fear take over now, they had come too far. The dagger was within reach, and with it, a shred of hope. The moment Tyler's fingers grazed the hilt, a blinding light burst forth, illuminating the chamber in blinding radiance. The shadows recoiled, screeching in agony, pulling back like roaches from sunlight. The apostle stumbled, his form shifting, as if the light burned his very essence. "Foolish child!" he roared, clenching his fists in fury. "You think you can escape me?" Jenna seized the dagger, electricity surging through her veins as she wielded it. "We're done running," she growled, feeling the rush of defiance ignite within her. The oppressive darkness seemed to pulsate with fury, echoing the apostle's wrath, but the moment of triumph was fleeting. As she held the dagger aloft, visions flooded her mind, images of the people who had prayed and bled for power, and of the horrors that danced in the shadows, feeding off despair. The weight of 1,000 souls pressed upon her spirit, begging for release. "Mom, what do we do?" Tyler whimpered, his small voice trembling in the sea of chaos. "Fight!" Jenna screamed, determination flooding her heart. "No more running." With a swift motion, she plunged the dagger into the stone altar. A shockwave erupted, shaking the very foundations of this hidden hell. The walls trembled as the grotesque carvings writhed, the air thick with echoes of tortured souls. But just as the darkness began to unravel, something shifted. An overwhelming force surged from the depths of the altar, like a tide of sorrow. Jenna felt its pull, a desperate call that made her hesitate, doubt creeping back once more. "What have you done?" the apostle hissed, his voice a venomous whisper weaving through the chaos. "You may have triggered something greater than you can imagine." Before Jenna could respond, the walls began to crack, a shattering of reality itself. Terrors beyond comprehension surged forth, clawing at the edges of their reality, seeping into the air with ravenous hunger. "Run!" Jenna shouted, clutching Tyler's hand tightly. But the ground swelled beneath them, dark tendrils emerging from the cracks. The chamber transformed into a maelstrom of chaos, a whirlpool of horrors consuming everything in its wake. They had awakened something ancient and evil, a force bound by the apostle's sinister legacy. As they turned to flee, the last remnants of light flickered dangerously. Shadows whispered promises of salvation, but Jenna felt the weight of choice pressing heavily upon her heart. They faced a choice far more terrible than running, embracing the darkness or relinquishing their chance for survival. Mom, Tyler's voice cracked with terror as they stood before the swirling vortex of chaos, the last door to hope closing fast. And as they plunged into the unknown, Jenna understood one horrifying truth: there was no escaping the legacy of the cursed apostle. What lay beyond that chaotic rift? Could they find salvation, or would they be consumed by the shadows once and for all? The moment they crossed the threshold, the world shifted like a fever dream. The air thickened around them, a living thing, pulsating with dread and despair. Jenna felt the dagger burn in her grasp, its power flickering like a candle in the wind, fighting to be seen amidst the overwhelming gloom. Tyler stumbled beside her, fear tightening his small fingers into a claw on Jenna's arm. "What is happening?" he gasped, breathing shallowly. "I don't know," Jenna replied, her voice barely above a whisper, gripped by panic as the shadows coiled like snakes around their feet. Sounds hissed around them, echoes of lost souls and anguished whispers, shrouded in a tangible malice. As they pushed deeper into the rift, reality frayed. Nightmare landscapes shifted beneath their feet, twisted trees twisted towards the sky like gnarled fingers, their bark stained with crimson, while distant wails reverberated through the air, each note puncturing Jenna's heart. "Mom!" Tyler cried, pulling harder. "I want to go home." A surge of desperation pulled at her. "We'll find a way out," she promised, but the ground crumbled under their steps, blackened roots reaching up like grasping claws. The dagger surged with heat, sending jolts of energy racing through her system as its light flickered uncertainly, a heartbeat among the dead. Jenna knew she had to focus. But the shadows around them whispered sweet promises, enticing her with visions of safety and escape. "Let go," they hissed. "Join us." "No!" she screamed, shaking her head violently. "We won T." Suddenly, a piercing scream sliced through the despair, a nightmare-given voice. A figure emerged from the shadows, its form twisted and unnatural, eyes gleaming with malevolence. It moved with a slithering grace, driven by a hunger that sent a chill crawling up Jenna's spine. "Foolish mortals!" it shrieked, laughter saturating its tone like poison. "You think the dagger can save you? This world exists because you dare to defy." The creature lunged, razor-sharp claws slicing through the air as Jenna instinctively shoved Tyler behind her, raising the dagger high. "Stay back!" she roared, her heart racing like a wild horse. The dagger flared to life, illuminating the ink-black abyss. The creature's laughter turned frantic, and it hesitated, recoiling from the swirling light. Jenna took a step forward, desperation giving her strength. "This ends now." Before she could strike, the swirling darkness trembled, reacting to her courage and scattering around her like mist. But then, something vile slithered from the creature's mouth, a curse wrapped in shadows. "You think you have hope. Your blood binds you to this place. You will never be free." Jenna felt panic claw at her throat. "Tyler, we need to move." But Tyler's eyes were fixed on a shimmer in the distance, an ethereal glow radiating from the depths of the cursed shadow realm. With a sudden rush, he dashed towards it, the very thing they had sought. "Mom! It's beautiful." "Tyler, wait." Jenna's voice broke, but he was already sprinting. Realization crashed over her as the creature surged forward, blocking their path to Tyler. He was heading straight for a trap. "No!" Jenna cried, lunging after him. The shadows pulsed violently as if the very fabric of this forsaken realm tore at the seams. She hurled herself forward, plunging the dagger into the ground to create a barrier of light between them and the terror. The creature shrieked in fury, its form shifting as it flailed against the rising tide of illumination. "You will regret this." It screamed, an unholy growl rumbling in the depths of its throat. Jenna felt her resolve hardening like steel. She couldn't back down. "Tyler!" But the figure loomed closer, arms outstretched, a predator in the night. And amidst the chaos, time warped, stretching as uncertainty tightened its grip. Just as hope flickered, a deafening roar echoed, and shadows twisted, swallowing the light whole. Jenna's heart raced as Tyler froze, caught between two worlds, the shimmering safety and the encroaching horror. "Mom!" he yelled, eyes wide with instinctual fear. As the darkness rushed in, Jenna knew they stood on the edge of choice. Would they leap back into the monstrous tempest, or reach for the fleeting light? And the question hung in the air, heavy with despair, as the world crumbled around them, leaving nothing but a void of blurred loyalty and haunting revelations. What lay at the heart of that shimmering glow? Would they glow with newfound power, or crumble under the weight of their family's cursed legacy? Jenna felt her heart slam against her ribcage like a warning drum, drowning out the frantic whispers of the shadows around them. Time seemed to stretch out, each heartbeat pulsing with pure panic. Tyler stood just beyond the barrier, trembling as the shimmering glow beckoned him like a siren's call. "No, Tyler! Get back!" She screamed, her voice barely piercing the suffocating air. The creature was only inches away now, those glinting eyes boring into her with grotesque curiosity. It paused, curious about the dagger's light, a flicker of something akin to fear dancing across its twisted features. Jenna's instinct screamed at her. That light could be their salvation or their damnation. The dagger's warmth pulsed steadily. She felt its power coursing through her like wildfire, and within that fire, a flicker of hope ignited within her. "I can protect us," she whispered to herself, though her voice trembled with doubt. She inched forward, the barrier shimmering before her, each step pushing against the encroaching darkness. The creature hissed, its excitement tinged with bitterness, as if sensing the turmoil within her. "You don't know the truth, girl." It spat, its voice a grating rasp that skated across her skin like ice. "You are bound to this place, tied by blood and sin. This realm will devour you both." "That's a lie." Jenna shouted, grasping the dagger tighter, its light flickering with her rage. "We are not yours to claim." But Tyler stood like a statue, eyes wide, caught in the glow that felt so right, so inviting. She could see his small hands trembling, could almost feel the despair building within him like a storm. The very thought of losing him clawed painfully at her gut. "Tyler. Listen to me. Please." She searched for something, anything to pull him back. "It's a trap. They want to ensnare you." He blinked, and for a moment, confusion flickered in his gaze. The creature hissed, vexed by Jenna's words and the bond they shared. "How quaint," it sneered, "little souls tethered to hope, so easily deceived." The shimmering glow pulsed, and images flickered within, flashes of laughter, memories of family dinners and bedtime stories. It sang to him, promising security, warmth, everything Jenna wanted to give him but couldn't. "Tyler. Snap out of it!" she cried, desperation spilling out. She dove deeper, holding the dagger up high, letting it channel every aching word wrapped in love and determination. "Remember who you are. You are stronger than this. You're my son." The entity recoiled, a snarl bubbling beneath its breath. "You scream, but you do not understand. Your bond only deepens the curse. Your love cannot save you here." Suddenly, the ground shook, reality tearing at the edges. The shadows writhed, wanting to consume her, to obliterate their connection. It was then Jenna felt it, a crackling energy, the dagger vibrating against her palm as if resonating with her desperation. With a roar, she thrust the dagger downward, aiming for the heart of the darkness. "No more. I will fight for him." Light exploded from the dagger, piercing the veil of shadows that snaked and twisted around them. The creature howled, angry and wounded, as Jenna stepped forward, pushing deeper into the glow, letting it wash over her like a tidal wave. Tyler's eyes returned to her, clarity breaking through the fog. "Mom." His voice trembled, confusion painted across his features. "Come to me. Now." She yelled, extending her arm towards him, but the shadows were relentless, swirling and pulling at them with voracious hunger. The creature's laughter echoed, tinged with madness as turmoil accelerated around them. "Fools! You think you can escape your fate?" It shrieked, teeth sharp and glistening, as claws shot out toward them both. Jenna's mind raced, the light flickering as more shadows poured in. "Tyler! Hold on." Then, with a final surge, as if the dagger plus their bond ignited the ground beneath, the landscape shifted violently. Tyler was yanked by the force of the darkness, his screams mingling with the fury of the creature. "Mom!" The shimmer dimmed, and darkness wrapped around her. Her heart sank as the world imploded into chaos. Desperation clawed at her throat. In that split second, she could lose him or leap into the unknown that awaited. Could they truly escape the curse binding them? Or were they forever lost in this living nightmare? The final echo of the creature's laughter lingered, but so did the piercing glow of the dagger. Jenna's heart pounded as obscured choices loomed before her, a fixative dilemma waiting to unfold. "Stay close, Tyler. I'm coming." But as the shadows enveloped them, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. What awaited them in the depths of darkness, and could they survive it? Jenna gasped as the darkness folded around her like an iron grip, pulling her deeper into the abyss. Tyler's terrified screams echoed in her ears, merging into the cacophony of sinister whispers clawing at her sanity. "Tyler!" she shouted, her voice raw with desperation, the shadows writhing around her as the creature cackled in delight, relishing their fear. The dagger burned in her hand, fierce and alive, its pulse resonating with her racing heart. She had to focus. This wasn't just about escaping the nightmare, it was about reclaiming her son, the light within his frightened eyes. He's mine to protect. She spat, choking back the terror that threatened to overwhelm her. In that moment of resolve, the wall of darkness seemed to quiver. Memories surged through her, his laughter, the warmth of his hand in hers, the trust shining in his gaze. Each fragment reminded her why she fought. Remember Tyler. Remember us. Trembling but unyielding, she raised the dagger high, with a surge of raw courage and love, she called forth the light that had flickered within the dagger, channeling every ounce of strength she possessed. We are not bound to this darkness. The shimmer of gold burst forth, illuminating the grotesque visage of the creature before her. It recoiled, its figure distorting in agony as light pierced its shadowy form. No. You can't, but Jenna had already pressed forward. It's not over. She roared, her voice a weapon forged from fear and desperation. Tyler's silhouette flickered in her mind, a beacon guiding her deeper into the fray. You're coming home. The ground trembled beneath them, the very fabric of the cursed realm shattering as the dagger's light surged, cascading into a wave that sent the darkness sprawling. Shadows howled, retreating into corners where light dared not tread. But Jenna's focus sharpened, and with a primal scream that echoed across dimensions, she lunged toward the blinding glow that signified hope. Mom! I'm afraid. Tyler's voice broke through the chaos, piercing her resolve. She could hear panic lacing his words, and her heart ached for him. I'm right here. Just trust me. A wave of determination washed over her, igniting her spirit. Stay close, Tyler. We're getting out. She dashed forward, the dagger a shield against the encroaching darkness. The shadows shrieked, a thunderous cacophony, yet they knew fear too. It diminished with every step she took toward the light. But the creature clawed at her heels, vowing vengeance, relentless in its pursuit. Your bond will be your downfall. It roared, a malignant growl. Jenna glanced over her shoulder. The apostle's twisted visage was splintering, finding strength in the fury and despair of eternity. But she would not be afraid anymore. Her son's safety was burning fiercely in her heart, eclipsing the terror spilling from the past. Without hesitation, Jenna rallied, a fierce brilliance igniting within her. The dagger glowed brighter, its energy intertwining with her own as they charged through the fickle shadows, pushing toward the shimmer ahead. Together, we break free. Mom, look out! Tyler shouted, and she instinctively twisted, thrusting the dagger forward, meeting the oncoming darkness with radiance. The blade collided with the shadows, exploding in a shower of light that seemed to sing. As the dark creature reeled back, hesitant against the dagger's power, Jenna felt Tyler grasp her hand, and it grounded her. Hold on. She urged, weariness fighting to break her spirit. But no. They were close. The whisper of freedom was tantalizingly near. With one final surge, Jenna grasped Tyler's arm, propelling them beyond the grasp of the shadows. The brightness enveloped them, a cocoon of warmth, as the world around them shifted, reality folding in on itself. They were weightless, free to escape the snare of fate binding them to this cursed realm. Then darkness shrank away, and Jenna felt a rush of air, cool and fresh filling their lungs. Time snapped back, grounding them with reality. With one last push, they soared forth, the shadows shrieking behind them. As they landed hard against solid ground, panting, Jenna blinked at the familiar sight around her, the old church bathed in golden sunlight. Tyler stood beside her, wide-eyed and breathless, the lingering shadows already retreating into the cracks of the stone. Did we make it? He gasped, glancing back into the still lingering twilight. Strands of shadow curled like smoke, whispering dark promises but failing to breach the warmth of the sun outside. Jenna pulled him close, heart racing with relief and terror in tandem. "We're safe," she said, her voice trembling, yet steadied by triumph. "We broke the curse, Tyler." Together. They stepped over the threshold, where the gloomy atmosphere receded, and with it, the weight of the Apostle's curse. The echoes of his cruel laughter faded into the past, buried deep within the remnants of shadows. It was done. They were free, but the scars lingered, reminders of the darkness that could re-emerge. Jenna took a breath, feeling the fresh air fill her lungs. "We faced it, Tyler. You were so brave." Relief washed over her, but also melancholy. The bond they forged would always carry traces of the darkness they escaped. "Can we go home now?" Tyler asked, voice soft, vulnerability shining through. Jenna nodded, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. "Home, yes, but we'll never forget what we faced together." With one last glance at the church, they stepped forward, embracing the warmth of their new beginning, the sunlight shimmering like hope pouring into their future. In the distance, whispers faded, but Jenna held her son close, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it side by side, anchored by the light of their love. It was a new chapter, drenched in sunlight and a promise of tomorrow, a promise worth fighting for. Now that you've reached the end of Jenna's terrifying journey, here's the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will keep your heart pounding. Smash the like button now. Seriously, it helps the channel grow and keeps us connected. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and wild theories about the ending. You want to share your take, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us keep this incredible community thriving.